Welcome to This Explainer. So today we are absolutely geeking out over the unsung heroes of mechanical engineering, gears. I mean, think about it. You turn a steering wheel, a heavy gate effortlessly slides open, or a beautifully crafted mechanical watch just keeps ticking. That is all gears. They're basically the hidden power brokers inside pretty much every single machine we use. They quietly sit there taking raw energy, translating it, multiplying the force, and literally directing the movement. In this explainer, we're going to decode exactly how these incredible little mechanisms do what they do, looking at their specific purposes and the raw mechanical advantage they give us. Let's get right into it. Real quick, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start building our toolkit with Section 1, Intro to Spur Gears. Then, Section 2, Turning Corners with Bevel Gears. After that, Section 3, Going Straight with Rack and Pinion Systems. And finally, Section 4, Maximum Force using Worm Gears. All right, Section 1, Intro to Spur Gears. Okay, so to truly understand complex machinery, you absolutely have to start with the foundation, the spur gear. The name actually comes from the spurs you'd see on a horse rider's boots. It's just a simple wheel with perfectly spaced teeth projecting outward, right around the rim. Their whole purpose is super straightforward, but vital. They mesh together to transmit motion and force in what we call an inline system. Basically, that just means the gears are sitting right next to each other, acting in the exact same plane and direction. Now, the absolute most crucial thing to understand here is the relationship between these gears when they actually connect. In literally any mechanical system, you've got a giver and a receiver of energy. The giver is the driver gear. That's your input. It's the one actually hooked up to a motor or maybe a hand crank. The receiver is the driven gear, sometimes called the pinion, and that is your output. And here is the golden rule of mechanics you've got to remember. When two spur gears touch directly, they will always counter-rotate. So if the driver spins clockwise, it physically forces the driven gear to spin counterclockwise. It's a beautifully simple reaction. Okay, let's dive into the math for a second. Because counting those teeth is actually the secret to controlling speed. Engineers don't just guess, they calculate what's called the velocity ratio. Basically, you take the number of teeth on your driven gear and divide it by the teeth on the driver gear, and boom, you know exactly how the machine will behave. For instance, if the driven gear has 12 teeth and the driver has 24, well, 12 divided by 24 gives us a 1-to-2 ratio. That means the smaller driven gear literally has to turn exactly twice to keep up with just one single rotation of the larger driver gear. We call this gearing down, and it is the fundamental way gears alter the speed of a machine. And this brings us to the ultimate engineering trade-off, because honestly, you rarely get something for nothing in mechanics. You are constantly balancing speed against force, which we call torque. If you use a really small driven gear, sure, it spins super fast, but it won't have a lot of pushing power. But if you swap that out for a much larger driven gear, it's going to turn a lot slower, but it transmits a massive amount of turning force. The further out those teeth are from the center axle, the greater the torque. It's the exact same reason why your bicycle is really hard to pedal in a high gear, but super easy in a low gear. But wait, remember that golden rule? Two connected gears always counter-rotate. Well, what if you're building a machine and you absolutely need the input axle and the output axle to spin in the exact same direction? Enter the idler gear. It's such an elegant fix. You basically just sandwich a third gear right in the middle. So the driver spins clockwise, which turns the middle idler counterclockwise, which then forces your final output gear to spin clockwise again. Problem solved. Now, as machines get more and more complex, think about the tiny winding mechanism inside a watch. Space gets extremely limited. You can't just line up dozens of spur gears side by side. So instead, engineers use compound gears, or gear trains. They basically lock two different sized gears onto the exact same axle, stacked right on top of each other so they turn as a single solid unit. This brilliant little trick lets you stack speed and torque multipliers into an incredibly compact package. All right, so far everything we've looked at has been sitting nice and flat, operating in the same plane. But the real world is 3D. So what happens when your motor is laying flat on the ground, but you need an axle to point straight up into the air? That takes us to Section 2, Turning Corners with Bevel Gears. Bevel gears are an absolute game changer for this exact spatial challenge. Instead of being flat wheels like the spur gears, bevel gears are actually shaped a bit like cones. The teeth are cut onto the angled edge, typically at exactly 45 degrees. And when you mesh two of those 45-degree bevel gears together, you create a perfect 90-degree corner. Just like that, horizontal rotational movement instantly becomes vertical rotational movement. To really picture this in action, think about a manual kitchen hand beater or one of those old-school mechanical hand drills. These rely on a specific bevel setup called a crown and pinion.
When you crank the handle of a hand drill in a vertical circle, there's a big crown gear that meshes with a tiny pinion gear pointing straight down. It instantly redirects your cranking motion 90 degrees downward to spin the drill bit into the wood. Plus, because that crown gear is larger, it gears up the speed, making the bit spin way faster than your hand is actually moving. It's the perfect marriage of redirecting energy and multiplying speed.
Okay, so we can spin in straight lines and we can spin around corners. Let's evolve our toolkit even further. What if we want to stop spinning entirely? How do we turn a continuous circle into a straight sliding line? Section 3, going straight, the rack and pinion. This system brilliantly illustrates how rotational movement is converted into linear movement. A rack and pinion involves two really unique parts. First, you have a standard circular spur gear, that's the pinion. But instead of meshing with another wheel, it meshes with a rack. Imagine taking a spur gear and just unrolling it, flattening it out into a long, straight strip of metal with teeth cut into the top. As the motor turns the circular pinion, the teeth literally bite into that flat rack, forcing the whole strip to slide sideways in a perfectly straight line. And I guarantee you interact with these all the time. If you drive a car, your steering wheel is attached to a pinion gear, which slides a rack left and right to actually turn your front wheels. Heavy automatic sliding gates use a motorized pinion to pull a long metal rack attached to the gate. It's even in double-headed corkscrews or the height adjustment on a camera tripod. And the really cool part? You can reverse it. If the rack is bolted down and fixed in place, turning the pinion forces the gear itself to climb up and down the rack. That's exactly how heavy pillar drill presses move up and down their stands. All right, one final mechanical challenge for you. So we have inline motion, cornering motion, and linear motion sorted. Now, how do we deal with massive speed differences? Think of a child's toy train. The tiny little electric motor inside naturally spins incredibly fast, but it has almost zero actual pushing strength. So how do we convert that crazy high speed into enough raw force to pull a dozen toy train cars? That brings us to section 4, maximum force. Worm gears. Now, the worm gear honestly doesn't even look like a standard gear. It looks exactly like a screw. Technically speaking, the worm gear is considered to have just one, single, continuous tooth that spirals around a cylinder like a thread. This threaded worm sits at a 90-degree angle and meshes with a standard-looking spur gear, which we call the worm wheel. And here is where the absolute magic happens. Because the worm essentially only has one tooth. For every single full rotation that high-speed motor makes, it only advances the worm wheel by a single tooth's distance. Think about that. If your worm wheel has 30 teeth, the fast-spinning motor has to turn 30 times just to make the wheel rotate once. It is a massive, massive reduction in speed. But, as we learned earlier, a drop in speed equals a massive spike in torque. Suddenly, that weak little electric motor has the raw turning force needed to haul those heavy train carriages up a steep track. Plus, this specific setup creates an amazing built-in safety feature. A worm gear is basically a mechanical one-way street. The turning screw easily pushes the teeth to rotate the wheel. But if you try to forcefully grab the wheel and turn it backward to spin the motor, it locks up completely. The angle of the teeth against that long, continuous thread makes it nearly impossible for the wheel to push back against the worm. It essentially acts as an automatic brake. Absolutely brilliant for things like elevators or winches. The only real downside here is that the gears are rubbing together rather than rolling, leading to sliding friction, which can definitely lower their efficiency through wear and tear over time. Wow, we have covered a lot of ground today, from those simple, equal-sized spur gears changing direction all the way to massive torque-generating worm drives. The mechanics all around us are truly just a symphony of meticulously calculated ratios and spatial engineering. So I want to leave you with this final thought. The next time you effortlessly turn your car's steering wheel, or you watch an automatic gate gracefully slide open, take a second to ask yourself, what invisible forces, brilliant angles, and exact math are you silently commanding right at your fingertips? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes open for the hidden mechanisms powering your world.